Well, hello again, Leo. November 2015, Dadhichi here from astrology.com.au. Talking about self-empowerment and how the transits this month can help or hinder that process for you. You know, you've got the continuing transit of Neptune in that 8th house, which is the house of self-transformation. You must transform yourself in order to empower yourself. And right now we see that that has not been easy with that outer planet transiting this it's a nebulous house of the zodiac to start with, and being a nebulous planet up until the 2nd, where we see Mercury moving into the sign of Scorpio. Now that's going to help that because Neptune's in the 8th house in Pisces, but that is the natural house of Scorpio. So when Mercury moves, you're going to be more in tune with what to look for within yourself, what sorts of things to change within yourself. And when Neptune also goes into its direct motion on the 19th, we see some fairly significant achievements. Now, they may not be things where you're going to get an increase in salary, but on an inner level, a spiritual level, you're going to feel somewhat self-satisfied that you've come to some understanding or conclusion within yourself. A decision that may relate more to family matters, relationships. Mercury will be moving through your 4th sector, which is your home, your mother, your heredity and early family history. Sun is also in that position, and that is there up until the 22nd of November, at which point it moves into the sign of Sagittarius. So you're going to have a month or so of really focusing on these things. That inner self-transformation is related to family matters, I think. You've also had, well, let's jump back a little bit from that. The new moon on the 12th also falling in that sign of Scorpio, I think is fairly telling as well. So just as you're researching all this stuff, maybe negotiating, trying to come to some understanding of how you deal with the people in your immediate domestic sphere. That new moon, I think, is going to release a lot of powerful energy to help you along the way of removing those things that are hindrances in your life, especially emotionally, with that 4th sector being an emotional part of the zodiac. Mercury's moving very, very quickly. It will move through this 4th house and then into the 5th house. So you want to get things done quickly. You're a person on a mission this month, and Mercury moves out of that area into, let's have a look here. So it moves into Scorpio on the 2nd of November, and then it moves into Sagittarius on the 21st. So that's a fairly swift motion. That's around 19 days, not even a month in that sign. Lots to talk about for you. You'll note Jupiter, Venus, Mars, which I mentioned last month, very lucky in your 2nd house of finances. There's a conjunction of Venus and Mars there. It makes you very passionate about your income, about earning money. You really want to shine in that area. But we see that the movements of these two planets, firstly Venus on the 9th, moving to the 3rd house of communications and contracts, and then later Mars on the 13th. So those days leading up to those dates are going to be very telling, and I think there's going to be a shift from simply desiring a financial change to actually communicating and making things happen. So this 3rd house is very much a house of communication, negotiation, and contractualizing of the agreements that you come to. You need to be careful of that because these two planets are notorious for impulsive action when they are conjoined. The desire to achieve what it is you want may actually cause you to overlook some of the detailed analysis that's necessary for a win-win situation. The other thing too, this is a zone of travel, so you may actually want to travel around a bit. You could be quite busy exploring different areas, different cities. You could do some interstate travel at this time. It's not generally known as a sector of long distance travel, but certainly you'll be flitting around doing this, that and the other, and maybe just understanding yourself through that mechanism of travel. Motion seems to be what's necessary throughout this next month or so for you, particularly after the 9th. The full moon on the 26th takes place in Gemini, which is your 11th house of friendships and social activities. So I see a lot of activity there, a lot of emotional sort of commitment to this sort of area of your life. And that can be fun, but as I said earlier, it can also relate to some level of impulse that you may need to curtail at this time. And you may be in two minds about a friend. So there may be the proverbial Ben Franklin clause, fors and against, the pros and cons of why you should or shouldn't, let's not say continue a friendship, but at this time to be hanging out with someone that you may feel time is better spent elsewhere. So certainly something worth considering leading up to the full moon and even after that. There are some intense career issues that could arise this month for you, Leo, given that we see the nearing conjunction of... is it a conjunction? Let me have a look at that. What have I got here? I've got Venus. It's not a conjunction. I've got to correct myself. On the 21st, it's a right angle. It's a square, which is probably even harder. This is a very challenging aspect. We see that Venus will, as ruler of your 10th house of career, come into the right angle of Pluto, which is in your 6th house. 6th house is also very much related to work and the nitty-gritty of how you actually do your work, the locality of your work, as opposed to the 10th house, which is the work itself, the quality of the work, like the nature of the work that you do. So having this challenging aspect can show some subversive or rather even nefarious sort of activities going on. You may not be all that trusting of the people in your environment at this time. You may feel as if you're being undermined. People aren't telling you the whole story. So for you need to rely on some intuition at this time, because I don't think you're going to get the full story, notwithstanding the fact that you've got those strong third house elements, which is the communication we talked about earlier. As much as you want to email and ferret out the information, there may be something that's eluding you at this time. So it's best to back off, use your intuition. You'll get a clear picture of what's going on within that vicinity if you rely on your intuition rather than cold hard facts. Mercury, there's 3 or 4 hard aspects there after the 25th. The conjunction of Saturn, your 5th house, that could make you feel a little bit depressed. You may be feeling somewhat jaded by what you're doing. Even your creative activities may be feeling a little dry. That will pass. It's a quick aspect. Mercury in the square to Neptune, that's a bit more of the same, just a bit of confusion. The sextile to Mars is better on the 26th, but on the same day you've got the square from Saturn to Neptune. So all in all, you want things to move forward, but you may be hamstrung there at that time. It's probably best to wait till the month completes, but later in the month we see the the conjunction of the Sun to Saturn, bringing with it a more dynamic, responsible attitude, one that's not, jump for joy type thing, but it could be a steady development and things could swing your way at that time. I'm hoping you'll be here next month as usual. I will be. Take a look at astrology.com.au for more detailed analysis of the readings. You can subscribe here too to this channel. Looking forward to your company here again for the December forecast. Till then, take care. Bye-bye now.